Am I the a-hole for yelling at my husband for not walking our dog? Let me know in the comments, and make sure to stick around until the end to get the full story. My husband, 32M, and I, 30F, have been together for 6 years, and we've had our dog for 4 of those years. I initially got her as my dog, but my husband and I started sharing more responsibilities as the years went by. I still pay for all her needs 100%. We both work busy jobs, and he works from home while I go to the office twice a week. When we're both home, I usually do the morning walk since I start work earlier, and we take turns for the rest of the walks. It's the days I'm in office that are the problem. We have a Ring doorbell camera, so I know when he takes her on walks. But lately I noticed he doesn't walk her until 3 p.m. 3 in the freaking afternoon. That's when I text him to walk the poor dog so she can use the bathroom, and his responses are usually A, "It's been a busy day," or B, "The dog is fine." She wasn't whining or crying to go out. It's been like this for months now. We also have an indoor camera to keep an eye on our pup, and most of the time I see that my husband has the PS5 set up and he's playing games while working. But he can't find 5 minutes to take our girl out so she can relieve herself. We had an argument and I said some choice words. The gist of it, I called him lazy and selfish and accused him of not caring for our dog at all since she literally depends on him for her needs when I'm not home. My husband said I took it too far, and again, that our dog is fine because she's not sick or anything. Was I overreacting? Am I the asshole? Am I the a-hole for refusing to split finances 50-50 with my husband because I make significantly less? Let me know in the comments, and make sure to stick around until the end to get the full story. My 30F husband, 32M, and I have been married for 7 years and have a 3-year-old daughter, Sophie. I work part-time as a preschool teacher, earning around $30K annually, while my husband is an engineer making over $140K a year. When we got married, we agreed that we'd contribute to expenses proportionally to our income. This worked fine until recently, when my husband proposed that we start splitting everything 50-50. He says he's feeling burnt out. He told me that since Sophie was born, he's felt an enormous financial burden. Between the mortgage, daycare, groceries, and bills, he covers most of our expenses, leaving him with less disposable income than he'd like. He said he feels like he's carrying the weight of 2 adults and a child, and it's starting to wear on him. He pointed out that, despite paying for nearly everything, I still find ways to treat myself to new clothes or spa days, and he feels resentful that I never discussed those purchases with him. I said that my treats come out of the small personal budget I've carved out by being frugal in other areas, and that his solution isn't realistic. If we split finances evenly, nearly all my income would go toward bills, leaving me nothing for emergencies or Sophie's extras, like dance classes or birthday gifts for her friends. He mentioned that I spend more than 40 hours a week working part-time, caring for Sophie, and managing the household, but he feels like I don't value how much pressure his income and career put on him. He said if I started contributing more, he could relax and spend more time with Sophie, which he believes she would benefit from. This is unfair, however, as whenever he does have free time, say the weekend, he'll be out the door by 7 a.m. and the local runs, and will grab lunch with friends. Repeat another running session the next day, go to the gym in the evenings. Things escalated last week when Sophie got sick with a stomach bug. I stayed home with her while he went to work. That evening, I asked him to handle dinner while I gave Sophie a bath. He snapped and said that I'm always talking about how exhausted I am, but at least I have time to spend with Sophie. He's running on fumes here, and I don't seem to care. We had a blowout argument where I yelled that his 50-50 plan was impossible unless I quit my job to work full-time, meaning Sophie would have to go to full-time daycare. Since then, he's been cold toward me, only communicating through texts about budgeting tools or articles about financial independence. What do you think? Am I the asshole? Am I the a-hole for refusing to share a table in a crowded coffee shop with another patron because she smelled bad? Let me know in the comments, and make sure to stick around until the end to get the full story. I 22F was studying at a popular coffee shop in my town yesterday afternoon. It was crowded, but I was lucky enough to get a 2-person table with an outlet. I stayed there for maybe 3 hours and ordered multiple items throughout my stay. About an hour into my stay, a girl about my age who reeked asked if she could share my table so she could study as well. I looked around and every other chair was occupied, and there were even people standing beside the tables. I'm not kidding when I say her smell made me nauseous and started giving me a headache, so I knew there was no way I would get anything done with that girl across from me. Without mentioning her smell, I told her no and that I needed my personal space. Instead of walking away, she pressed and said that if I wanted my personal space, I shouldn't study in the most popular coffee shop in town. I then told her that I specifically didn't want her at my table because she smelled like a farm, and she should take a shower before she tries to infringe on strangers' personal space. I thought she would go away after that, but she told me she was sitting at my table whether I liked it or not. She put her things down, maybe thinking I would leave. Instead, I flagged down an employee and explained the situation. She sided with me and asked the girl to leave, threatening to call security if she didn't do so. I resumed my work, but felt a bit shaken by the situation. Later that evening, I recalled what happened to some of my friends. I thought that they would all agree that she was being an AH, but to my surprise, a couple of my friends told me I was the unreasonable one. One of them is familiar with the coffee shop and told me that it was rude of me to hog a table, even though I bought 2 drinks and a pastry throughout my stay. and that if I really had a problem with someone smelling bad, I should have just left. Another one of my friends said that my comment about how that person smelled was out of line, and even if someone is being rude, I shouldn't talk like that to a stranger. This sparked a huge debate until I agreed to post on this sub to settle this once and for all. So, am I the asshole in this situation?
Am I the a-hole for expecting my boyfriend to do all the chores while I work 2 jobs and go to school full-time? Let me know in the comments, and make sure to stick around until the end to get the full story. My boyfriend and I are in our 20s, and we've been living together for a couple years now. We have a really good relationship and communicate well. I think this is just a matter of we both have a lot on our plates, but any input is welcome. I'm currently working 2 jobs, 5 days a week. I'm also a full-time student, so my other 2 days are taken up with being at school for 10-12 hours. I'm in my senior year of my degree as well, so it's a heavy course load, and I'm also applying to grad school and internships at the moment. All 7 days of my week are occupied with either work or school, and I have to wake up between 5-7 a.m. every day. I'm barely home, but when I am home, it's spent doing homework, eating, and sleeping. My boyfriend finished his degree a couple years ago, and he is working full-time, 4 days a week. Outside of that, he goes to the gym about 5 days a week. Every Friday night, he goes bowling with his friends, and a couple days a week, he plays a card game with his friends. At the start of the semester, we agreed that he would take on most of the chores, but I would help when I can, and I'd still help with dinner because I enjoy cooking. He sometimes complains about having to do the chores and will ask me to help out with things here and there, such as cleaning the cat's litter, and I'll do it. We both hate cleaning, honestly, so I get it's annoying, but I'm starting to feel frustrated when he expects me to help with more chores. In my eyes, we agreed on this beforehand, and he was completely okay with supporting me. He also has 3 days a week that he gets to sleep in, and he's able to go to the gym and have hobbies. I've been stressed because I don't even have the time or mental capacity to make doctor's appointments that I need, and I had to stop going to the gym a couple months back. I don't have the luxury of having time for myself. Not to mention my body is physically sore as both my jobs also require me being on my feet all day. AITA for getting frustrated that he expects me to help with housework too, or am I putting too much on his plate? Does this sound balanced fair?
Am I the a-hole for calling my partner irresponsible and immature for behaving like a teenager? Let me know in the comments and make sure to stick around until the end to get the full story. My partner, M24, has a very bad habit of not cleaning up after himself or cleaning himself properly. We don't live together, but I stay over at his house often. He's a very messy person. He drinks a lot of fizzy drinks every day, Coke, Lucozade, Pepsi, Monster, you name it. So he'll leave his empty cans, bottles everywhere in his room. He smokes heated tobacco, so he'll leave his tobacco butts everywhere. In the bed, on the floor, on the computer desk. I'm sick of the sight of them. He eats crappy food and will leave food packaging on the floor. Most of his rubbish also ends up under his bed, which he knows is there but decides to ignore it. The only time he will actually make an effort to clean up his mess is like an hour before I come round, and even then it isn't a great job as I still have to pick up the excess rubbish he ignores. We had an argument the other day about his behavior, as when I entered his bedroom, I felt something sticky under my feet. I looked down and lo and behold, there was some type of brown liquid that had gone dry and sticky. He spilt Coke and didn't bother to clean it up. I'd had enough. I told him to get a mop and clean it, and how long had that been there? He tried to get out of it by saying, "I will later," or, "I'll do it when we go downstairs." I don't see the point in going downstairs, coming back up, then going back downstairs. Like? I said he should have cleaned it after it had happened, but apparently he tried saying he didn't know it was there, even though it was right next to the bed in plain view, and then said it must have happened a few hours before when he was sleeping. But I'm pretty sure spilt Coke doesn't go sticky that quick. I'm convinced it had been there a few days. So disgusting. I called him irresponsible and immature, which he got offended by. Apparently I'm mean and don't respect him because of the way I acted over this. I've just had enough of the way he acts. He's 24 years of age and acts like a teenager. I keep telling him it's not hard to throw away rubbish. He even has a bin in the same room. It's like having a teenage son, which I also keep telling him. As for his personal hygiene, he never brushes his teeth unless I tell him to, or cleans himself properly in the shower, as he still for some reason has dirt under his nails. I'm so done. AITA for how I acted towards him. He seems to think he's in the right, but I'm flabbergasted.